Moore Art School. Welcome to another one of our wet on wet painting demonstrations. Now in this little painting we're going to do a nice little scene of the canola fields across Lara, and in the backdrop will be some mountains, the Yuyang Mountains. It's just up the road from where I live, so nice little landscape scene, lots of nice colour, a few trees, and a nice sunny day will do to make it a nice bright happy painting. Should be a lot of fun. We're going to use the wet on wet technique that Bob Ross, Bill Alexander and others have popularised. I'm Australia's only certified Alexander teacher of the wet on wet method, and here at Moore Art School we base everything we do on the wet on wet method we learnt from Bill Alexander. However, we modify it to suit to suit a slightly different approach, I guess, what we call the Moore method of learning to paint. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you what my palette is here. I'm going to use ultramarine blue for our sky, alizarin crimson, cadmium red, which is sliding off the page here, so I better be quick, yellow ochre, some cadmium yellow, and some titanium white. So we're going to keep it a fairly limited palette, and for our greens, we're going to mix our greens rather than using green out of the tube. And I'm a great believer in trying to keep your palette as limited as you can, and that creates a much better unity in the whole painting, but also it teaches you how to mix colours properly, and I think that's really important. And perhaps one of the things that are slightly missing out of the wet on wet technique is really understanding how to mix colour. So what I'm going to do, here in Australia we do not have magic white or liquid white, depending on whether you use Bob Ross or Alexander products. Can't get them here in Australia. So basically the approach that I use and what I teach my students in our classes is we just basically don't worry about it too much. We will just grab some thinner on our brush and go straight into the titanium white, and we'll just put a mix of thinned down titanium white there, and that seems to do the trick. So if you can't get magic white or liquid white, don't worry about it. You don't need. It's obviously an advantage to be able to get it, but if you can't, not a big deal, right? Really isn't. Going to use the Alexander 1-inch brush now, and the 2-inch brush to get us started here. If you can't get those, the other alternative is a little pastry brush you can get from any kitchen shop. You can get a 1-inch brush version and just about, I think it's probably about a 2-inch brush version. I use those quite a lot in my painting, and you'll find those do almost as good a job. So I'll just give that a bit of a clean. I had a bit of paint in there still, and so I'll just go into my thinner bucket, and all I'm going to do is just pull out some of that titanium white and thin it down. Now my thinner bucket's a bit dirty, so it's going to come up not being pure white. However, it's probably an advantage for the DVD because then you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Now the canvas that I'm using here is simply a stretch canvas. I buy it in a roll and I cut it out to 16 by 20 inch, tape it up on the board here, and that way it's a lot cheaper than buying all of your canvases already pre-stretched. If you do a good painting that you really want to keep, then you can just get that one stretched, put on the stretchers quite easily, or framed, or whatever you want to do. So that's a good way to save money, is to just use it on a roll. Now you have to obviously pay a little bit more to get the roll up front, but you get a lot more mileage for your money, which is often important when you're learning to paint. Okay, so I'm just going to work this down 2/3 of the way down, mostly now sky. Because I'm doing a landscape, I'm going to have sky 2/3 of the way, and we will have the the mountains and things in that sort of centre of the picture, and then our foreground obviously. This is a painting that I'm doing based on what I see up the road. It's just in our neighbourhood. It's that time of year where all the canola fields come out and are this brilliant yellow colour. There we go. So as you can see, that's the equivalent of using magic white or liquid white, depending on whether you're looking at Bob Ross or Bill Alexander's art supplies. It's not identical because I think they had linseed oil and things like that. In another video I'll show you how to make up your own equivalent to it. But for a quick fix, I just use the thinner, titanium white, apply it on the canvas, and you've got pretty close to the same sort of effect. Now what I'm going to do is take our 2.5-inch brush. Okay, I'm going to take some of our ultramarine blue. I'm not going to hold this up because unfortunately my cadmium red is going for a walk, but I'm just going to take some of the ultramarine blue, pop it there, and I'm going to load the brush, the 2.5 inch brush here, just by working it through that ultramarine blue. And I'll show you this in a sec. Okay, there you go. So I've just got it nice and loaded up. And I'm going to start in this corner. I'm going to start in those two corners. You want the two corners to be the darkest, so they lead the eye into the center of interest, which will be, you might put a little cottage or something here in the field. So we want to get the two corners darkest. And we're going to use an X motion here. We're going to just apply our paint like so, using an X motion, okay? And then we'll just work our way across. You can see that's thinning off with the white there, which is what we want. Now when we get to the end, take the brush off. Okay, and then come down to the next. So we're going to do this in bands, and what we want is to go from dark to light by the time we get down to that horizon line. And so we don't want to get more paint. We should have loaded enough paint on there to not have to worry about getting more paint. And then as we come down, you want to use less pressure on the brush. Okay, and in a few spots it'll get a bit darker, and a few spots a bit lighter. It really doesn't matter because we'll come back and we'll blend everything in. So I'll grab some paper towel now. I'll just run my brush through the paper towel. Now what you don't want to do is put that brush into the thinner bucket at this point, because this brush will absorb a huge amount of thinner. And if you don't get it 100% dry, you're going to be putting more thinner up there, and that's just not going to be good, right? So trust me. So now I've gone and taken most of the paint out. Now I'm going to come back and I'm going to repeat those X marks, and it's going to start to soften out what I did before. Okay, into that corner. Now that corner, I just need to blend some of that out a little bit. Same over here. Just get it blend out a bit, and we'll keep working down. Now you don't want to go, you want to work in these bands. You don't want to jump around and go from dark into the light too quickly, because you'll pull the dark paint down to where it's meant to be light, and that will defeat the purpose. Okay, now I'm just going to stand back and have a look here. Yeah, it's getting there. A bit more paper towel and clean it out a little bit more. And what I'll do is I'll just do some nice big horizontal strokes on canvas there. Oop. There we go. The only thing is, I think there's a little bit too much transition in this area here. So I'm just going to go and work in some more X's just in that region. See, I've got a hair on there. Whatever you do, don't try and chase your hairs out. Just leave them. And when the painting's dry, they pop right off. If you try and stick your finger in there, you mess the paint right up. Okay, so that's getting there. I'll just pull a bit more of that paint out of the brush. Okay, and just do some nice big strokes there. Okay, now you want to keep it nice and light here. We're going to have our Yuyang mountain range coming in through here, so we want the dark to contrast against the light. So I'm even tempted just to pick up just a little bit of white here and just work it in here, just to ensure that we've got enough light value along that horizon line there. Okay, and then I'll make sure okay, well, what I almost did then was put that brush thread in there. I don't recall where I was up to. Had I got the darkest paint on there, that wouldn't have been a good thing. So I'll just give it a little bit of a clean, get some X strokes happening in there. And you can see when you've done this a few times, you can get quite quick with the X strokes. Okay, and then just blend that out. That makes it a little bit lighter in value, just on that horizon line there. And I think that'll be important when we put trees and things in there. Okay. All Alright, I thought we might do a couple of little clouds. We're going to just do some beginner sort of clouds. We're not going to go into too much depth and detail because my purpose of showing you this video today is just to really give you a few simple steps that you can do to get started painting. Okay, it's not to make you a master artist by any stretch of the imagination. Just want you to get started painting here with this video today. And this is a class I'm going to teach at More Art School. We have both online art classes, but we also run physical art classes. This is actually a project for a class that I'm going to teach, and many of the people who come to that have never painted before, so we don't want to do anything that's going to be overly complex, okay, for their first go. I really believe that getting your confidence up is probably the most important thing you can do when you're starting out painting. Okay. Okay, now one thing I've just noticed about my painting here is that it's still quite wet on the board there, okay, which makes it just a little bit tricky to apply the clouds the way we'd like them to go on. And you notice I'm just doing light fluffy shapes. The important thing is this top line here and then softening them off underneath here. We'll blend that in, but it's the upper sort of shapes that are important, and I'm just sort of shearing my brush against the canvas there to get that sort of effect of a windy day, you know. And you want to avoid creating clouds that look too uniform, you know, that look like cotton wool balls. We'll just put a few smaller ones underneath there. Okay. Now I'm going to get a little bit of blue with maybe just a touch of alizarin crimson just to grey it up a little bit. Okay, so I've just made up, you probably can't really tell there, but you'll see it when it goes on the canvas there. Just a few little touches of grey there. And that was ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and touch of the yellow ochre. If you ever want to make a good grey, you obviously need your three primary colours, blue, red and yellow together in the right combination will give you that sort of grey that you're looking for. There are other ways of making greys, such as mixing in complementary colours, but for beginners, just mix your three primary colours together will give you a grey, which is what I've done there. So now just standing back and having a look at that, I think that that's quite fine for our purposes here. I'm just going to dry off this brush a little bit, and then just using just that corner there of the brush, I'm just going to just get in there and just agitate. I've got a bit too much paint there, so I'll just pick the other corner and we'll just soften that bit out. And what I'm doing, I'm really just softening that grey into the white there, and we want to soften everything right off because our clouds are really distant. They're really background. We don't want them drawing our attention too much. So so I'm just going to soften them off and then just very lightly just lighten them off there. Okay. Very good. Okay, so there's some simple little clouds, and I've really made them very soft, very much sitting in the background. We don't want them to dominate our picture here at all. And as you can see, pretty simple to do. Okay, now let's put our Yuyang Mountains in. They're going to sit in through here. The Yuyang sort of have these two peaks and then they extend right out. And for that, I'm going to use ultramarine blue. And I'm going to pick up some titanium white with a touch of alizarin crimson. Now when you're doing mountains, one of the things to know is how do you establish that they look like they're off in the distance? Well, one of the most important things to know, and even as a beginner you can apply this theory, is mountains or any object that's in the foreground will have a mix of the three primary colours in them, blue, red and yellow. when things go out into the middle distance, they start to lose the yellow out of the spectrum, right? So they become more mauve in colour, you know, with that atmospheric look. And then when you go even further in the distance, the red disappears out of the spectrum and they become very blue. So if you're ever driving on the highway in the country and you see mountains a long way away and they're all blue, looking, that's the reason why. So if you want to create depth into your painting, apply that principle, okay? So these mountains that I'm going to do, the Yuyang Mountains here, these are middle distance sort of mountains. So what I'm mixing up is ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson primarily with some titanium white, okay? And these mountains sort of go like so. Second one peak is just a little bit smaller. Okay, now you've got to be careful about getting too uniform a shape with anything that you do when you're painting. One of the biggest mistakes that beginners make is that their shapes are just that little bit too uniform. But as mountains do go away into the distance, they do definitely flatten off. Okay, so I'm just using the 1-inch brush just to apply that paint there. And there we go. I think that's the sort of shape that I want to establish here. These Yuyang Mountains, when we did our TV show, Plein Air Painting TV, which you'll find on our YouTube channel, or at More Art School, you'll see some episodes of the TV show. But we actually went right up to the base here and painted that mountain, which was quite dramatic. And these mountains, they do a lot of mountain bike competitions and things, so they're, you know, really a beautiful spot, beautiful part of the world. Okay, I'm just going to get a little bit of blue towards the base here, a little bit of bit white. Whoop, way too much. Okay, one of the great things about oil painting and acrylics is that when you make a mistake like I just did, you don't want to worry about it too much. You can always work in and correct things. Part of the reason why I switched from watercolour painting to oils and acrylics is because of the fact that you can correct your mistakes. Okay, which I think is much better for a beginner. Now there's obviously pros and cons of all mediums, but I think for beginners, even though oil is probably the most daunting for a beginner, once you learn that there are no mistakes and that things can be corrected, I think you can really start to flourish as an artist. Okay, getting a little bit more alizarin crimson and ultramarine. Now the tops of your mountains always want to be your strongest value, and down at the bottom you want them to be the lightest. So I've just gone and I'm strengthening up the tops of these mountains here. And by having that light sky there, you can see now how the mountains really stand out, and it creates that contrast there with the mountains. Now these mountains are probably too far away to really see any trees in them or anything like that, so that's fine. Okay, get some interesting shapes into them. That one's probably just a little bit bigger. Okay. I was just giving my brush a bit of a clean there by rubbing it on the bottom there, and I think we're getting there with this. Now I'm not going to worry about putting any light on these mountains. As I said, this is really very much a beginner project that we're doing. In a more advanced project, you'd start to consider where the light was. You've probably seen Bob Ross, Bill Alexander doing their alpine mountains where they put light on one side and shadow on the other, which is great. And if you've painted a bit, that's a good thing to do. This is a beginner class, and the people who will be coming along to this class, most of them haven't painted before, so we won't go to that trouble with them in the first class or two. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put in some trees. I'll put in a couple of taller trees here, and a row of trees along the base of this mountain with varying heights. So the next step is we're coming forward, so we want to get in a little bit darker. Okay, so I'm going with ultramarine blue, some alizarin crimson still, okay, and some yellow ochre. I'm just mixing up a dark. Now this dark needs to be more on the blue mauve side than on the yellow side, and I've just mixed it up and I've made it too yellow. So I'm adding more ultramarine blue and more alizarin crimson. Okay, it's really important that you understand, getting just the right tone for this. Okay. So I'm going to use our 1-inch brush again, and I think we might end up having a big gum tree up here, and we might do some smaller trees here. Okay, so I'm just going to use this 1-inch brush, and I'm just going to test. Yeah, I think that's fine. Now, the only thing with this 1-inch brush is I had it too much into a wedge shape, and I want it to be a bit more like so. So I'm just going to get this dark on here. Got too much yellow in there, so I'm just going to darken it up even more. And there we go. So you want to get a layer of dark through there. And we're not going to worry too much about the shapes of these gum trees, because they're off in the distance, right? But what we are going to do is just get them in, but different heights and things. So we don't want it all to be one flat line. Some of them are going to be taller than others. So it's important that we get that variety of shapes. So obviously these gum trees are quite a bit closer to us than the mountains there. And by having that darker colour, it pushes the mountains back to where they need to be. Okay, we might just bring a couple of them, although I'm going to put that big gum tree there. We'll leave that gap there for the big gum tree.